Hi guys, welcome to 1UX1. Today we're talking about user research and the types of user research that are most common. So the one that you're always going to come across, regardless of which job you take on, it's like the primary form of user research is qualitative and quantitative data in the form of interviews. Because in the real world, it's very different to the theory of UX design. So you have all these applications like UserZoom, usertesting.com, and all these applications, but sometimes your stakeholders, your managers, your product manager doesn't give you the time to go through the whole user experience process or the user research process. So it sometimes just boils down to getting interviews done to find out what the pain points are, what the user needs are. And in those interviews, you're going to gather two types of information: qualitative data and quantitative data. Now, the way I easily remember these two is qualitative is from quality, so I think of emotions, feelings, people's sayings, users' sayings, and quantitative from quantity, i.e. numbers, number of times they attempted the checkout, the number of time they spent on the task. So qualitative and quantitative, they're both very, very important. Now, which one is more important? It's actually qualitative. Why? Because qualitative gives you a deeper insight into user needs. It tells you a lot more about the user than the quantitative, because qualitative is about the feeling. And when we're talking about building empathy and human-centered design, user-centered design, then what do we really want to know? Where the hearts and minds are, how do they feel about our product? And that's going to come from the qualitative side, i.e. what they say to us, and we note that down in the interview. The quantitative, where is that helpful? The quantitative data is helpful when we want to know how long it took them to complete the task, how many times they log in a day or a week or a month or a year, how often they use our product. So these numbers are also important, but really when it comes down to discovering the pain points and giving your UX designers, from the research point of view, giving UX designers or taking it yourself as a UX designer, taking that research to produce a prototype, you really need to know how they felt about it, what was the emotional bearing on the user, i.e. were they upset, were they happy, were they feeling frustrated, were they elated. Those things are really going to help us with design. Now, these two types of research are also known as attitudinal and behavioral. So behavioral research data that we're collecting is from the users when they are giving us qualitative data. So there are two types of research that we break down these interviews to. It's attitudinal data and behavioral data. So attitudinal is from the qualitative data. So the quality of the data, i.e. the emotions, the feelings, all of those frustrations, they give us the attitude of the user. And that's the attitudinal data that we need, i.e. how do they feel and how do they sense even their gut feeling about the aesthetics of the design, the layout, the information architecture. That's all attitudinal. And then we've got the behavioral. How do they behave with our product? So do they find it easy to use, and do they get on with the task that they want to get on with? Let's say they want to purchase something. Are they able to add it to the basket easily? Are they able to find the basket and check out easily? Or if they want to add something after they have gone to the checkout page, is it easy for them to do? And that behavior is what we can measure in quantitative data. These two types of data is what's going to form the gist of your user research report. And that's what your stakeholders are going to want from you. And that's on a really basic level, but it's highly effective, because from those two types of information, just from your user interviews, you're going to be able to write a report. And that's what your purpose is, to write a report to sell the idea that these are the problems, these are the pain points users are having, and here you go, here is what we need to be doing. We've discovered through the interviews, through the research, that users would like an easier way to check out when they want to purchase something. So that's what we're really looking at. We're looking at the pain points and discovering them through all this data. Now, how many people do we need to interview? Now, 5 to 6 people is a good number. I have seen and experienced sometimes where practically you can't get hold of end users, or it could be within your own department. Then even 1 or 2 interviews will still give some insights, but ideally 5 to 6. I've also done research on 21 candidates. So it just depends on how much time they give you, how much resources you have, what the budget is. So it's really variable, and this is why we call it agile working. UX design works in an agile environment because you don't know what the variables will be, what the requirements will be, what the project's current phase will be, what the scope of the project is it can change at any time according to the needs of the project and according to the needs of the organization. So you have to be very flexible about this. So if you read the theory and it says 5 to 6 people need to be interviewed, but in practice your manager says, no, I don't have the time, I want to report my desk by Monday, you're not going to get time to interview 5 people, then you need to interview as many as you possibly can. And that's the way to get the user research done. And this is the quickest way to get data and information that's useful to the whole design team to start improving the service and the product. That is really what's key about getting the job done, going through the process without complicating things. Now, in an ideal world, we do heat maps, click testing, we do A/B testing, tree testing, and all of these other methods. But we don't always get a chance to do that. And many of my colleagues have been through the same thing, where in an ideal world we'd like enough time, enough resources, but if you need a month to do the complete user research cycle, and they say, well, we can only give you 10 days, then you need to work with the 10 days. You're not going to get more than what your managers are going to give you. So always work within a team with flexibility, good communication, and that's the best way to move forward. I hope this video was beneficial. If it was, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and like, and I'll see you on the next one, 1ux1.com. See you guys. Thank you.